Controversy files, famous cases that redefined photography's boundaries. There is a strange pattern in the history of photography. The images that shock the most are often the ones that survive the longest. Not because controversy guarantees greatness, but because it forces a society to confront a question it would rather avoid. Where is the line between art and exploitation? And that line has never been stable. It moves with culture, with time, and with who is holding the camera. One of the earliest tensions in photographic history came from the rise of modern art portraiture in the 20th century. Artists began pushing beyond idealized beauty into raw, uncomfortable realism, bodies twisted, expressions unfiltered, psychological states exposed. In painting, this shift was embodied by figures like Egon Schiele, whose work challenged every polite convention of the human
The
form.
photographer's psychology,
His subjects
what the
often
camera
appeared
reveals
vulnerable,
about the person
tense,
behind it.
and emotionally
There is a
exposed in
quiet
ways
truth
that
about
made viewers
photography
uneasy
that often
rather than
gets
comforted.
overlooked. Every
Even though
photograph is a
Schiele worked
decision,
primarily in
and every
drawing and
decision
painting,
reveals a
his
mind,
influence carried
not
into
just what the
photography.
photographer sees,
The idea
but how
that
they
discomfort
see.
itself
Because
could be
the camera
expressive.
is not a neutral
But
tool.
discomfort
It
is where
becomes an
controversy
extension of
begins.
attention, memory,
Because once art
emotion,
moves
and
away from
instinct.
ideal beauty,
And
it
over
enters a
time,
space
a
where
photographer's
interpretation
work
becomes
begins to reveal
conflict.
something subtle but
In the world
unavoidable.
of fashion and
They are not
editorial
only
photography,
capturing the world,
that conflict
they
became
are
even
organizing
sharper.
it through their psychology.
Few figures are
At
as
the most
debated as
basic
Helmut
level,
Newton.
photography
His
begins
images were
with selection.
stylized,
Out
controlled,
of everything
and
in
often
front of the lens,
provocative,
something
blending
is
nudity,
chosen.
power,
A
and
face
luxury in
instead of a
ways that
crowd.
made him both
A shadow
celebrated and
instead of a full
criticized at the
scene.
same time.
A fraction of a second
Supporters
preserved
saw
as if it
empowerment,
defines something
theatricality,
eternal.
and bold
But
artistic
selection
vision.
is never random.
Critics saw
It
imbalance,
is shaped by what the photographer
objectification, and
notices
the
first,
uncomfortable
and
merging
what they
of eroticism
consistently
and
overlook.
authority.
Some
The
are drawn
debate
to
was never
symmetry
just
and
about the
control,
images
others
themselves.
to chaos
It
and
was about what
imperfection.
those images
Some
meant in a
search for
changing
connection in
cultural
every
landscape.
frame, while others lean
Another
toward
recurring
distance,
controversy in
abstraction, or
photography
silence.
history centers on the
And
question
none of
of
these
agency.
choices are purely
Who
technical.
is truly in
They are
control, the
psychological
photographer,
fingerprints.
the
Then
subject,
comes
or
framing.
the audience?
Framing is not just
In some
composition,
historical
it is
cases,
interpretation.
models were celebrated
Two
as
photographers
muses
can
while having
stand in the
limited
same
creative
place,
agency.
at the same moment,
In
and create
others,
entirely different
collaborations were more
realities.
equal, with
One
subjects
centers the
actively
subject,
shaping the final
emphasizing
image.
clarity and
But
stability.
many of the most
Another
debated
cuts
works
into the
exist in the
edges,
gray area
suggesting
between those
tension,
two
movement,
extremes.
or emotional unease.
This gray zone is where
What is
consent,
included matters,
intention,
but what
and
is excluded
interpretation
often
begin
says
to
more.
blur.
Because
And once
exclusion
that
reveals
blur
attention
exists,
boundaries,
controversy
the
is
invisible
almost
line
inevitable.
between what the mind
Then there is
considers
the role of
important
the
and what
viewer.
it ignores.
Because a
And
photograph
those
does not
boundaries
end
are
with the
formed long
photographer
before the
or the
shutter
subject.
clicks. Then there
It
is
enters
timing.
public
A
space. An
photographer
image
does
that
not
is
just
created
capture
in
what
one
is there,
context
but when
can
it
be
is
completely
captured.
reinterpreted in
A
another.
smile becoming neutral,
What was
a
intended as
gesture turning
artistic
still,
exploration
a
can
moment
be
of
read as something else
vulnerability slipping
entirely
into
depending on
composure.
cultural
A
values,
fraction of a
time
second
period, or
changes
platform.
everything. Some
This is why the
photographers
same
wait
image
quietly,
can be displayed in a
observing,
museum
letting
and
moments
censored
unfold
on a
naturally.
social media platform.
Others anticipate
The
aggressively,
meaning does not
almost
change in
hunting
the
emotional
image,
peaks.
but it changes
Neither
in the
approach is
society
neutral.
looking at it.
One reflects
Modern
patience and
controversy
surrender.
often
The
intensifies
other
this
reflects
tension.
control and urgency.
Today,
Both are
photography exists in a
psychological
world
states
where
made
images
visible
are
through
shared
images.
instantly, stripped
Perhaps
of
the most
context,
revealing
and
layer is
judged
the
within
relationship
seconds.
between
A
photographer and
fine art
subject.
nude photograph can be
Because even in
interpreted
a
as
brief
empowerment,
encounter, there is
vulnerability,
always a relationship.
objectification, or
Some
provocation,
photographers approach
sometimes
subjects
all
with
at once.
empathy, trying to
And
understand
unlike
them.
earlier eras,
Others maintain
there is no
distance,
single
treating
authority
them as
deciding
form,
its meaning.
shape, or concept.
Meaning is now
Neither
distributed,
is automatically
fragmented,
right or wrong,
contested
but
in
each
real
creates a
time,
different
and yet,
emotional
despite
imprint.
all the debate,
You can often
controversy
feel it
has
in the
always
final.
played a strange role in photography's evolution. It pushes boundaries, it forces ethical conversations, it exposes assumptions about power, beauty, and consent that would otherwise remain unexamined. But it also leaves behind a difficult question: does controversy clarify art? Or simply surround it with noise? In the end, the most controversial photographs are not just about what is shown. They are about what is unsettled. Because every time an image makes people uncomfortable, it reveals something deeper than aesthetics. It reveals values in conflict. And photography, at its most powerful, does not just capture reality. It challenges it.